So in the last video that I did, I was talking about tone and how before you even sort of start to chase forming riffs and licks, it's important to get the tone that you want and it makes you feel like you want to keep playing down. So before we get to any of the rest of it, I'm going to keep going with that particular topic, because one thing I didn't show you yesterday was anything I did with settings on amplifiers to do that. And the reason that I didn't show you settings on amplifiers is because first and foremost, tone is right here. You have to have an idea in your head of what you want the guitar to sound like. And so So I'm playing a totally different guitar from yesterday to give you an idea of the fact that even though I'm working with different equipment, the sound that I'm getting is not that different from the sound that I had in the last video. So the reason for that, of course, is I have an idea in my head of what I think a blues guitar should sound like. And so using a different guitar, I'm still getting something that's like that. It's not exactly the same because I love the warm characteristics of Gibson and I love the bite of a Telecaster, and so in each case I'm letting that sort of stand out a little bit, but the sound is not that different. It's got a little bit of bite. I've got similar amount of reverb, and the way the tube sound cracks up the riffs that play multiple notes is very similar. So let's go take a look at what I did, and what we're going to do this on 2 or 3 different amplifiers, and I'll show you what I mean about how you have to go after the sound that you want. So I've just turned the amplifier on, and you can hear the sounds pretty indistinct. So I know in my head where I want to get. So I'm going to pick an amplifier that's sort of in tune with what I want. I'm going to pick a gain level. That might be too much. And I think I've got the gain about where I want it. So I like to have a little bit of bite in the sound. I like to have a lot of sort of thick in the bass sounds, and I like to back off the middle a bit. So maybe take the treble off some. And reverb. I mean, I like to have a bit of that sort of presence and ambience, but not too much. So that's one amplifier. Now we're going to try it again on another amplifier. So I've hooked up the old Sears Harmony amplifier that I've got, and it's a tube amplifier. So that's what it sounds like out of the box. So it's got no gain controls on its own that are going to put that grit in. So like I was saying in the other video, you can use something like a tube screamer to boost the signal, and we'll do that. That's a little crisp and sharp for my taste, so I'm going to back that off. And maybe just a little too much gain. I'm going to back that off a bit too. So we got a tone that's fairly similar to what I had on the other amplifier, less the reverb, because this one doesn't have reverb. And of course you can, play without reverb for sure. I just like to have it. So So we're getting tones here that that do the sort of thing that I like in a tone. It's part of that idea that's in my head of what a guitar tone is. So when you're playing two notes like that, you can hear the notes sort of crunch together, but at the same time, the vibrato is still coming through nicely because I'm not letting the grit from a really hard-driven tube sound overtake the guitar. So as you can see, I'm going for a similar sound on the different amp, and it's because the sound is in my head, not in the amplifier. Lastly, we're going to take a look at getting that sound in a recording studio environment. In this case, GarageBand, but could be anything, Cubase, Pro Tools, what have you. Anything where there are plugins that can use modeling amplifiers or software modeling amplifiers. So why would we jump to such a strange difference from all these real-world amps? Because somebody once told me, when you're recording, it's not the guitar that's your instrument. It's your digital audio workstation that's the instrument. So there's no reason that you can't plug your guitar straight in if you can get the sounds you want. So here in GarageBand, we're going to go to one where I know that's going to get close. So I'm going to take some of the gain off. We're going to take the reverb off here. Brighten it up. Take off that gain a bit more. And throw on that level of reverb that I like. So it's doing the same things that a real amplifier does. Now it's not a real tube, but the programming simulates the way a tube amp breaks up on the gain. So I'm still effectively doing the same thing, just in software emulation. And again, it's about getting that sound in your head. It's not about any particular dial that you turn things to. It's not about any dial you turn things to. It's about getting to where you need to be on whatever you're using to realize that tone that's in your head. So you're familiar with mine now. Just a bit of grit so the notes break up. And just a bit of fat tone to it, but some crisp and sharpness to it, and that touch of reverb. And so that's really what it's all about. That sound that you have in your head of what a blues guitar should sound like to you. That's the key thing. You need to know what that is. And then it's just a question of tweaking all the dials and the buttons until that is what comes out of whatever you've plugged into.